I met Paul and said, do you want to join my band, And then George joined. And then Ringo joined. We were just a band who made it very, very big, that's all.
Hello, my name is Scott, and welcome to Digger Podcast. In this show, I take an in-depth look behind each and every song of the greatest band that is, was, and ever will be, the Beatles. In this season, Season 3, I will explore the Beatles' third album released in the US, entitled The Beatles Second Album. Although this is the Beatles' third album, this is the second album released on the Capitol Records label, hence the name. Capitol Records issued the Beatles' second album on the 10th of April 1964, and it topped the US charts on the 2nd of May 1964 on its second week of release, replacing Meet the Beatles. This is the first time an artist replaced itself at the number one spot in America. So let's continue with the third track from the Beatles' second album.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You Really Got a Hold on Me. One of many amazing attributes that the Beatles possessed was their ability to interpret a song that they had a passion for with exuberance and flair in order to create a distinctly unique cover version. Their second British album with the Beatles contains 6 such examples. Arguably, this album encompasses the group's peak at these interpretations. You can tell from listening to these tracks, even decades later, that they thoroughly enjoyed recording them, possibly even more than the original songs they recorded for this album. Of all the other songs the Beatles recorded for this album, You Really Got a Hold on Me held a special place in their hearts. It was recently recorded by its writer, William Smokey Robinson, and his group, The Miracles, and first hit the charts only earlier that year, debuting on the Billboard Singles Charts on January 12, 1963. Yet just only 6 months later, the Beatles chose to translate the song themselves. In fact, this was the first song they chose to record for the album. The Beatles had a special attachment to the song of The Miracles. Many influences can be cited that have contributed to the sound and style of the Beatles' music, but Smokey Robinson and The Miracles were definitely on the top of the list during the latter half of 1963. Many of the Lennon-McCartney songs appeared during this period were said, by the authors themselves, to have been inspired by Smokey, including This Boy, All I've Got to Do, and Not a Second Time. So engrossed as they were with capturing the feel of the Miracles' music, they decided to cover one of the songs themselves. In retrospect, an event occurring in 1980 during the recording of Lennon's Double Fantasy album shed some light of the impact of the Miracles' music on the career of the Beatles. While recording the vocal track for the hit song Woman, Yoko commented that John sounded like a Beatle. Lennon corrected her by saying, "Actually, I'm supposed to be Smokey Robinson at that time, my dear," because the Beatles were always supposing that they were a Smokey Robinson. The admiration the Beatles held for Smokey could also be seen as recently as the 2009 Grammy Awards. When Smokey appeared on stage to honour fellow Motown artists, the Four Tops, Paul McCartney, who was in the audience, jumped to his feet and admiringly gave him a thunderous standing ovation, as if to honour the man who was one of the greatest influences on his career. Songwriting history. William Smokey Robinson was born on February 19, 1940 in Detroit, Michigan. An uncle gave him the nickname Smokey Joe, later shortened to Smokey, at a young age because of his love for cowboy movies. In 1955, Smokey formed a vocal group called the Five Chimes, and then, with some personnel changes, it became the Matadors. Among the new members of the group was Claudette Rogers, who later became Smokey's wife. As the lead singer of the Matadors, Smokey began touring local hotspots in Detroit and, in 1958, under their new name, The Miracles, released records on End Records and Chess Records through his connections with his newly found friend, Berry Gordy. When Smokey suggested to Berry the idea of forming his own record label, The Miracles were among the first acts signed to his Tamla label, which soon evolved into Motown Records. Smokey's close friendship with Berry led to his being appointed vice president of Motown Records in 1961, as well as working as a successful artist, producer, and songwriter for the label. The Miracles single Shop Around became the first #1 single on the Billboard R&B charts for Motown, #2 on the pop charts. Their career with Smokey as lead singer-songwriter on Motown's Tamla label spanned 12 years and 27 top 40 hits on the Billboard pop charts, 6 of which reached the top 10, including Mickey's Monkey, #8, I Second That Emotion, #4, and Baby Baby Don't Cry, #8. Their 1970 release, The Tears of a Clown, was the only #1 of Smokey's career, solo or otherwise. The Miracles' fourth top 40 pop hit was also their second top 10, peaking at #8, the self-penned classic You've Really Got a Hold on Me. The single was released in Britain on the Oriole label, but failed to make it to the charts, although it did get the attention of John Lennon, who loved it enough to scarf it up for the Beatles to work up a powerful rendition. The song has been covered by many other artists, including Eddie Money and Greg Allman, and Cher, and it is also a 1998 Grammy Hall of Fame inductee. The song has also been included in many motion pictures, such as Nothing But a Man 1964, More American Graffiti 1979, Mermaids 1990, and Striptease 1996. Smokey also did a rendition of the song on Sesame Street, highlighting how the letter U had such a hold on him. Smokey's career as a songwriter at Motown included a vast array of hits for other artists, including both My Guy by Mary Wells and My Girl by The Temptations. Other noteworthy examples are The Way You Do Things You Do and Get Ready by The Temptations, Ain't That Peculiar and I'll Be Doggone by Marvin Gaye, and Don't Mess With Bill by The Marvelettes. His immense contribution to the Motown label has earned him the title the King of Motown. Smokey left the Miracles in 1972 to pursue a solo career, his final concert appearance with the group being July 16, 1972. While continuing his duties as Vice President of Motown, he scored 3 top 40 hits in 1975 before returning to the Billboard Top 5 with Cruisin', #4 in 1979, and the $1 million selling Being With You, #2 in 1981. After a well-documented cocaine addiction and a divorce from Claudette, his career slowed, only to re-emerge in 1987 with 2 additional top 10 hits, the Grammy Award-winning Just to See Her, #8, and One Heartbeat, #10. As Smokey continues to record and perform periodically, one cannot underestimate the influence he has held in the music industry. Among many of his honors, he has received the star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Bob Dylan has referred to him as an American's greatest living poet. The 80s pop group ABC scored a #5 hit tribute song, When Smokey Sings, which charted in the same top 10 with Smokey's One Heartbeat single in 1987. His influence on the Beatles has also been noteworthy. The Miracles song, I've Been Good to You, has been revealed by John Lennon as one of his all-time favourite songs, which lyrically influenced his 1968 song Sexy Sadie. Lennon also reportedly used lyrical ideas from Smokey's song You Can Depend on Me in the writing of his 1963 ballad All I've Got to Do. Even I Am the Walrus contains the I'm Crying lyric from Smokey's Ooh Baby Baby. George Harrison recorded the tribute song Pure Smokey on his 1976 album 33 1/3, as well as included the lyrics And You've Really Got a Hold on Me on his 1987 hit When We Was Fab. All in all, the delicately fragile vocal style of the King of Motown has had and still has tremendous impact on the music industry. Recording history. Just 17 days after recording what was to be their first single, She Loves You, manager Brian Epstein had them back in EMI Studio 2 recording their next album. Having probably been in the mood for cover versions, they had just recorded 36 of them for broadcasting on BBC Radio during the dates of July 2nd and 16th. The Beatles began proceedings for their second album on July 18th, 1963, by recording their recent favourite of John Lennon's. Running from 7 to 10:45 p.m, the session began with You Really Got a Hold on Me, inadvertently changing the title from the original Youth. 7 live performances of the song were first recorded, featuring all 4 Beatles playing their usual instruments and singing without overdubs, accompanied by producer George Martin on the piano. Only 4 of these performances were complete, 3 of them being false starts, take 7 being the keeper. They immediately recorded 4 edit pieces for the song, concentrating on the word baby found in the final verse, and on the ending riffs of the song. Take 10 finalized the ending riff of the song, while take 11 perfected the baby. This completed the recording of the finished version of the song as we know it. Completed by approximately 8 p.m, it took an estimated hour to fully record this amazing rendition of an amazing song. The remainder of the day entailed recording the bulk of Money, That's What I Want, the entire recording of Devil in Her Heart, and an early attempt at Till There Was You. August 21st was the date chosen by George Martin to edit takes 7, 10 and 11 to make the final master, as well as create the mono mixes for this song and all of the other completed songs recorded thus far for the album. This control room only session was attended only by Martin and engineers Norman Smith and Jeff Emmerich. The stereo mix of the song, along with the rest of the album, was hurriedly done on October 29th, 1963 by Martin, Smith, Emmerich, and as the mysterious engineer with the title initials PT. This is not to say that the Beatles were done with the song at this point. Being that they were finally granted the use of the 4-track recording equipment on October 17th of that year, John Lennon insisted they take another stab at the song on this date. Jeff Emmerich explains, perhaps in his naivety, John thought that simply recording it on a 4-track instead of a 2-track would somehow make it sound better, but after one whack at it, the idea was abandoned. George Martin at this point insisted that they move on, explaining that recording they made on July 18th was adequate. Lennon then explained, "Alright George, we give up," and then introduced them to their next single, I Wanna Hold Your Hand, which was then recorded next. The Beatles did record the song again in the studio, but this time it was in their newly formed Apple Studios on January 26th, 1969, during the sessions for the Get Back project, released as Let It Be. The recent purchase of Smokey Robinson Records by George Harrison inspired the Beatles, with Billy Preston, to go through 2 takes of You Really Got a Hold on Me, as well as the more recent Miracles hit Tracks of My Tears. The first attempt was thought interesting enough to be preserved on the film and released in the Let It Be movie, although producer Glenn Johns deemed it worthy enough to perform a mix of the song in March of 1969 for the intended release. This never saw the light of day. Thanks for listening to Dig a Podcast. You can subscribe to our podcast on Spreaker, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or any other podcasting platform. This has been a Team Wilco production. Until next time, if you know what I mean. Do I did? No? Okay.